Right now, Savannah Guthrie shares a new message for hope as a piece of evidence found near the scene of her mother's disappearance could provide some answers.
He's familiar with this house either because he's been there before or because somebody told him about where that camera was and that he wouldn't have to worry about anybody coming up on.
I believe she was hunted. This wasn't a crime of opportunity, it was a digital execution. Those were the whispered words from an anonymous source close to the investigation, and today, 39 days after Nancy Guthrie vanished into the Arizona desert, the world is waking up to a terrifying new reality. Imagine an 84-year-old grandmother, the mother of NBC's Savannah Guthrie, sitting in her quiet home in the Catalina Foothills. She feels safe. She is surrounded by technology designed to protect her. But at exactly 1:47 a.m. on February 1, 2026, a ghost appeared on her porch. A masked figure, methodical and chillingly calm, stared directly into her Google Nest camera. He didn't hide, he acted. He neutralized the sensors, ripped the hardware from the wall, and stepped inside. For the next 41 minutes, the house became a black hole. No screams were heard, no alarms tripped. But what the FBI just uncovered inside that house is enough to make your blood run cold. We aren't just talking about the dried blood on the Porsche or the missing pacemaker signal. We are talking about a discovery so disturbing that the FBI has reportedly cordoned off an entire section of the desert. The investigation has just taken a turn that suggests the kidnapper is still watching the family, mocking their grief, and waiting for the right moment to strike again. Stay with us, because the details of the internet blackout and the DNA match that shouldn't exist are about to change everything you thought you knew about this case. If you think you're safe in your own home, you need to hear what happened to Nancy Guthrie. To understand why the abduction of Nancy Guthrie has paralyzed the nation, you have to look at the life she built in the rugged, unforgiving beauty of the Catalina Foothills. This isn't just a missing persons case, it is a high-stakes nightmare involving one of the most recognizable families in America. Nancy Guthrie was the anchor of the Guthrie family, a woman of deep faith, routine, and resilience. But at 84, she was also incredibly vulnerable. She depended on a pacemaker and a strict regimen of heart medication just to keep her heart beating. Her life was measured in heartbeats and quiet desert sunsets, far removed from the chaotic newsrooms her daughter Savannah occupied in New York City. Savannah Guthrie has spent decades delivering the news to millions, but on February 1st, the news became a personal tragedy that no amount of professional training could prepare her for. Sources close to the family say that Savannah had always been intensely private about her mother's location, fearing that her own fame could one day be weaponized against her family. That fear became a reality in the early hours of February. In the weeks leading up to the disappearance, the neighborhood had already begun to feel wrong. Neighbors reported strange, dark SUVs with tinted windows idling at the ends of quiet cul-de-sacs for hours at a time. There were reports of mysterious utility workers checking lines that didn't need fixing and marking the asphalt with strange symbols. At the time, it was dismissed as routine desert maintenance. Now, investigators believe it was the pre-attack surveillance of a professional kidnapping ring that was studying Nancy's every move. Nancy was last seen on the evening of January 31st. She had shared a warm, ordinary dinner with her daughter Annie and her son-in-law. They played card games and laughed, unaware that a predator was already counting down the seconds until she was alone. When Nancy was dropped off at 9:50 p.m., her son-in-law watched her garage door close, believing she was safe inside her fortress. But the forensic timeline suggests the intruder wasn't waiting for her to sleep, he was waiting for the neighborhood to enter its deepest state of silence. The Catalina Foothills are known for their safety, but that safety was a carefully constructed illusion. The winding roads, the deep desert washes, and the total lack of streetlights created a natural dead zone that the abductor exploited with surgical precision. This was an inevitable explosion of a drama that had been brewing in the shadows for months, a collision between a celebrity's public life and a predator's private obsession. The major conflict erupted when the FBI realized that the very security systems Nancy relied on for protection had been turned against her. When agents arrived at the scene, they expected to find hours of high-definition footage capturing every movement of the intruder. Instead, they found a digital graveyard. Forensic experts discovered that at exactly 1:47 a.m., a massive, military-grade Wi-Fi interference signal was blasted across the property. Every Ring camera, every Nest sensor, and every smart lock in a 100-yard radius was instantly blinded. Neighbors reported that their internet and cell service went down for exactly 41 minutes. This wasn't a technical error or a fluke of the desert weather, it was the work of a Wi-Fi jammer, a device so powerful it created a total blackout of the digital world. The kidnapper didn't just walk in, he erased the house from existence for those 41 minutes. But the most intense emotional revelation came from the physical evidence left on the porch. Investigators found a trail of dried blood leading from the front door toward the driveway, a silent testament to a struggle that no neighbor heard and no camera caught. Leaked messages from an internal investigation suggest that the blood sample was mixed, containing genetic material that did not belong to Nancy Guthrie. The psychological toll on Savannah and her family was total. 2 days later, a ransom note arrived demanding $4 million in Bitcoin, but it contained a detail that made the family realize they were being hunted by someone close to them. The note referenced a faulty floodlight in the backyard, a specific mechanical issue Nancy had only mentioned to her inner circle 24 hours before she vanished. This meant the kidnapper was listening. He was inside their private conversations, perhaps even inside the house, long before he struck. The betrayal felt by the family was absolute. Was there a mole in the security detail? Was a trusted friend feeding information to a monster? As the news of the ransom spread, social media exploded with suspicion. The drama was no longer just about a missing woman, it was about the total collapse of trust within one of America's most prominent families. Every word spoken in private was now a potential lead, and every person Nancy loved was now a potential suspect. The silence of the desert was no longer peaceful, it was a deafening reminder that someone was watching, waiting, and mocking the family's desperate attempts to find the truth. The case escalated to a fever pitch on day 25 when the FBI dropped a second, unexpected bombshell that changed the entire narrative of the investigation. After weeks of processing the mixed DNA found on the porch, forensic analysts realized they weren't looking for a common criminal with a prior record. The DNA did not match any individual in the federal CODIS database. Instead, they used advanced genetic genealogy to find a partial match in a public ancestry database. The news sent a shockwave through the media. The suspect is a biological relative of the Guthrie family itself. The internet exploded with theories of a blood feud or a hidden inheritance war that had finally turned violent. The #Guthrie secret began trending globally as armchair detectives tried to link the kidnapping to decades-old family disputes and whispered secrets from Savannah's past. Industry backlash followed, with competing news outlets questioning if the network was protecting Savannah by withholding the identity of the suspected relative. The drama intensified when a grainy gas station video from 50 miles away surfaced, showing a dark SUV with a masked man refilling the tank. In the passenger seat, a woman with white hair was visible for a fleeting moment. She wasn't bound, she wasn't crying, and she didn't look like a victim. She looked like she was waiting for the journey to reach its final destination. This raised a new, terrifying question: is Nancy Guthrie being held against her will, or is she being relocated by someone she trusts? The psychological warfare continued as the FBI began looking into Savannah's professional history. Was this a revenge plot from a former associate? Or was it something more primal, a family member seeking a piece of the fame and fortune that Savannah had built? The FBI's focus shifted from a search and rescue mission to a deep dive into the Guthrie family tree. Every cousin, every distant relative, and every person with a genetic link was suddenly under the microscope. The revelation that the enemy might be one of their own shattered the family's resolve. The desert was no longer just a hiding place for a kidnapper, it was a burial ground for the family's reputation. The investigation had moved from the streets of Tucson into the very DNA of the victims, and the truth was becoming more horrifying with every passing hour. As the 39-day mark approached, Savannah Guthrie made a desperate move that divided the public and her own industry. She announced a $1 million reward for any information leading to her mother's safe return. While millions praised her for her courage, a massive wave of skepticism formed online. Critics and conspiracy theorists began to argue that the reward was actually hush money, a desperate attempt to pay off a kidnapper that the family already suspected but couldn't name. The online debate turned toxic, with millions of fans arguing over whether the internet blackout was too professional for a lone wolf or if it required the coordination of an entire organization. The controversy reached a boiling point when the FBI was seen probing the septic system on Nancy's property. The imagery of agents in hazmat suits searching the pipes of her own home was too much for the public to handle. "Why search the ground if you think she's in the mountains?" asked one prominent investigative blogger. The atmosphere at the NBC studios was reported to be poisonous, as colleagues and staff were divided over whether Savannah should return to her anchor chair. Some felt her presence was a distraction, while others believed it was the only way to keep the case in the public eye. The fire was further fueled by a leaked audio clip that appeared on a dark web forum, purportedly from a burner phone used by the abductor. The distorted, metallic voice was heard saying, "The clock is ticking, and the desert doesn't give back what it takes." This haunting message turned the public's fear into a demand for accountability. Is the FBI being blocked by a power player involved in the case? Is the $1 million reward a trap or a bribe? The divide between those who see a grieving daughter and those who see a calculated cover-up is the fuel that keeps this story alive. Every update is met with both prayers and accusations, as the world waits to see if the Guthrie family can survive the scrutiny of their own tragedy. Just when it seemed the investigation had reached a dead end, a final, heart-stopping revelation emerged today, March 11th. Digital forensic excavators, working in tandem with Google's top engineers, have managed to recover a 3-second audio clip from the doorbell camera's internal memory, data that was recorded after the device was ripped from the wall. In those 3 seconds, the masked man finally speaks. His voice isn't the gravelly tone of a stranger, it is clear, familiar, and terrifyingly calm. He says a single name, a name that has never appeared in a news report or a police briefing. That name belongs to a former associate whom Savannah Guthrie worked with for years. This revelation changes the entire architecture of the case. This wasn't just a kidnapping for a ransom, it was a targeted message meant to destroy Savannah's life from the inside out. The FBI is currently raiding a remote property in the Tucson mountains belonging to this former associate, and the tension in the air is palpable. The drama isn't over, it has simply entered its most dangerous and personal phase. We have been informed that a massive announcement is coming within the next 24 hours that will shake the foundation of the media industry. Was Nancy ever truly lost in the desert, or has she been hidden in plain sight, protected by the very people tasked with finding her? The final twist is the most disturbing of all: the blood found on the porch might not have been the result of a struggle. Forensic analysts are now considering the possibility that it was a marker, a symbolic sign that the hunt has only just begun. The masked man is still out there, and he knows that the world is watching. The return to 1:47 a.m. isn't just a trip back to the start of the mystery, it's a warning that the most horrifying part of the story is still to come. This is the most disturbing and complex case we have ever followed on this channel. From the military-grade digital blackout to the genealogy DNA match that points back to the family, the layers of betrayal are endless. Now, with a name whispered in the dark and a raid currently underway in the desert mountains, the truth is closer than ever. What do you think really happened during those 41 minutes? Was Nancy Guthrie betrayed by someone her family trusted with their lives? Is the internet glitch the smoking gun of a professional hit, or is it all a smokescreen for a deeper family scandal? We need to hear your theories in the comments below. Your perspective might be the one that connects the final dots. If you believe the Wi-Fi jammer proves this was a coordinated hit, type blackout in the comments. If you think this former associate is the key to the whole mystery, tell us who you suspect. Smash that like button to show your support for the search for Nancy, and make sure you are subscribed with notifications turned on. We are standing by for the leaked audio of that 3-second clip, and we will bring it to you the second it hits our desks. The desert is full of secrets, but today, the silence finally ends. Stay tuned.